Welcome to Integrative Nurse Coaches in Action, the podcast where nurses, healthcare professionals, and consumers come to hear from inspirational nurse leaders in health and wellness coaching. We cover the latest innovations, ideas, and breakthroughs from nurses who are shifting the paradigm of disease care to health care through the art and science of nurse coaching. It's always so exciting to hear from new integrative nurse coaches coming onto the scene. They are filled with excitement, innovation, and hope for our profession. And they're also filled with wisdom and go-get-it attitudes. John Piazza de Donatis is no exception. He shares so much passion, joy, and love for what he does, and he's already found amazing opportunities at his local community health fair and at his local hospital to host group coaching sessions for fellow nurses. He shares his optimistic story and ideas, and I know you'll soak up his energy and positive momentum because I sure did. Before we get to today's podcast, let's take 3 deep breaths in and out together. 1, 2, 3. Now we're ready. John Piazza de Donatis was raised in Ripon, California, and graduated from Dominican University just north of San Francisco. He's been nursing for about 10 years in all sorts of departments, including emergency, critical care, and house supervisor, and has worked for 5 different hospitals. Currently, he works on a step-down unit in Portland, Oregon, while starting his nurse coaching business. He lives with his beautiful, hardworking, loving wife, who has helped tremendously with getting his nurse coaching business started, and their 3-year-old daughter, 1-year-old son, and their dachshund named Chili. He enjoys hiking and picnics in the park with the family and mountain biking and playing soccer on Sundays. Welcome, everyone, to the Integrative Nurse Coaches in Action podcast. My name is Nicole Viano. I am your host, and I'm also a board-certified integrative nurse coach. And I'm excited because today we get to talk with someone all the way from Ripon, California. He is known as a lifestyle transformation nurse, and he's a newer graduate of the Integrative Nurse Coach Academy, starting a new business. He got his first client. We're excited for him. And we want to learn all about the ins and outs of becoming a new entrepreneur and new steps and journeys in the nurse coaching process. So everyone, let's welcome John Piazza de Donatis.
Thank you. That was great.
Yay. So I'm so glad we're here together, sharing this time together. And I know our listeners are excited to hear a little bit about your story. We love to take a trip down history lane and learn a little bit about how you discovered nursing.
Of course. Yeah, thank you for having me again. I probably should have mentioned Ripon is where I grew up, but I actually live in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, shoot. Yes.
But that's okay. So yeah, I live in Portland, Oregon now with my wife and 2 kids. We have a 1-year-old son named Paolo and a 3-year-old daughter named Vita. And so to go back to how I got into nursing, I was graduating high school and much like most kids, didn't know what I wanted to do. I assumed I'd probably go into the construction field like my dad. My mom and my grandma motivated me to go to college. So they helped me apply to different places and just focus on going to college. And then I went through all the majors and thought, oh, nursing looks like the best one. Like it sounds fun. You're on your feet, you're meeting people, you're not stuck in an office. And I don't know, it just felt meant to be. So I went for it, and despite the challenging classes, made it through.
Thank gosh you made it through.
Yeah, a lot of close calls for sure, but my
Yeah.
classmates definitely got me through it. A lot of group study sessions, and yeah, now I've been a nurse for over 9 years. And my first nursing job was actually in the hospital I was born in Stockton, California. Yeah, I had a connection from one of the sisters on campus of my university, and that's how it all worked out. Started in Stockton, worked in San Francisco, Santa Barbara, Ventura, and now it seems like we're here to stay in Portland for a while.
So very cool. One of our last guests, Aaron Williams, he mentioned that he thought he was going to go into construction too.
That's right. I listened to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'll definitely drop his podcast into our show notes for listeners out there. And then he realized, oh, nursing. So some similarities there.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, it was kind of all I knew really, and it was fun. But at the time, actually, when I was graduating high school, it was the recession. And so the company my dad works for had to lay off like 75% of their crews. So that was also a motivating factor was, well, maybe I should find something a little more promising. And just going through all the options, nursing is what I settled on.
And so tell us a little bit about your experience in nursing. We heard about the places you've located
Mhm.
too, but what styles of nursing have you been gravitating towards?
Yeah, so I've worked in 5 different hospitals, and my first position was quite the wild ride at St. Joseph's in Stockton. I was float pool as a new grad, and it was float pool the entire hospital. So, like, 6 or so different med surge. Then I got trained in emergency, then 3 different ICUs, then NICU. So we floated everywhere. It ended up being a lot of emergency department floats, which I liked. Ended up, it was intimidating at first, but it ended up being really fun. And so I worked emergency in Ventura as well. That was like my side job while I was working float pool in Santa Barbara. So I've gotten to see a little bit of everything, and especially while I was in Santa Barbara, I I got invited to be relief supervisor. So I was house supervisor like 2 days a week for 2 or 3 years. And so, that involves administration and then also rounding on every single unit in the hospital. And that was kind of the time when I felt like there was something more for me. That was such a great opportunity and I really enjoyed it. But for some reason, I just had this itch to do something else. And I didn't know if that was going to be in nursing or just something totally different. But that was about 4 years ago now, a little over like my 5 year nursing point. And actually, here while I was in Portland, I met a travel nurse and she was telling me, oh, I'm going to move to Italy. I'm doing this like nurse coaching thing where I can take clients just anywhere virtually. I'm like, what is that? Like, that just doesn't sound doable. And so I kind of started researching it to see if it was legitimate and if you could actually like make money doing it and if people were interested in paying for that. As I learned more and more about it being health coaching from an experienced nurse, it made sense. And it also clicked like, I think this is what I want to do, like what I've been wanting to reach people on that deeper level rather than just medication in the hospital and the little bits of education that we may give that may not be super well received. So I went ahead and gave Inca a call to learn more about the program, and I just dove into it despite us moving into a new house, having a baby on the way. and a toddler, I thought I just felt like it was now or never. So I started the program and made it through. And here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate your courage and just saying, okay, this is what I need to do. I really am noticing that I think I am ready for more. I think I'm made for more. And then making that choice, like, hey, okay, yes, I have a 1 year old. Yes, I got a new baby. Right. And
Yeah,
yes, I'm saying yes to myself and wanting to expand my horizons and move into a new way of practicing nursing.
exactly.
Yeah. So tell us one thing that you really appreciated, or an aha moment, or something related to the actual training, the Integrative Nurse Coach Academy Nurse Coach Certificate Program.
Yeah. So I think where it hit home for me was during practicum, having our group coaching sessions, like our triad, where we would have two other classmates where we'd all coach each other. That's where I really felt like it not only came natural to me, but I enjoyed it. And I feel like I've always worked on listening to people well, for some reason, and just wanting to learn more about them and not necessarily offering advice right away. Like that was a aha moment actually. The advice trap, hearing somebody struggle and then wanting to right away just fix the problem, rather than digging deeper, asking more questions, and maybe guiding them to creating a goal and finding a solution. But yeah, the group coaching and practicum, it was just where it really sunk in, and it felt like, okay, I think I can do this, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, not only can you do it, but you're actually really enjoying it too.
Yeah. And going back to that advice trap portion, that was actually we learned about Michael Bungay Stanier. He did this interview with Brene Brown, and he had mentioned the advice trap, and he kind of led you through this strategy in a way of coaching people. And it was basically just continuing to dig deeper. Like once you wanted to offer that advice or fix their problem, ask another question. Like, okay, here's a challenge, but what else is coming up? What else are you challenging? What else are you having difficulty with? And I just felt like that was pretty profound because just nobody does that. you know, it's like you either pretend like nothing's wrong in the first place, or if you do share an honest struggle, somebody might give you sort of a quick answer and response.
Yeah, it's so much different when you can go deeper instead of wider, right? Because you can go wider. When you go deeper, you're actually narrowing things down instead of going out wider. Yeah, and I also really appreciate, there's girlfriend, I call it girlfriend connections, right? Where you're chatting, you're having a glass of wine, and you're talking about things, and it stays really surface, and you might get a response, and like you say, a quick response, and then somebody wants to fix you right away. And now nurse coaching and coaching, health coaching in general, I mean, we're trying to avoid fixing people. We'd rather they fix themselves because they have the knowledge and the wisdom to be able to do that, and we're trusting them to trusting they have the wisdom.
Right.
Have you found any barriers to that as you've been exploring coaching?
Definitely. Yeah, especially as my passion is a food as medicine approach. So I'm always learning about different research studies that could be so beneficial to somebody that I'm coaching. And I just want to share so badly, like, have you tried this? Like this study really had great results. And eventually I might share that with them. But it's after the fact, like after I've dug deep and I feel like it's appropriate, I'll share like an article or a study or even like a podcast that went into it. But it's really hard. It seems like it's just our natural response to offer that advice. And you feel like that's what they want. And maybe it is. Maybe they're at a loss and they do just want you to tell them what to try. But as hard as it is for you and them, it's so much more beneficial to get granular and dig that up, help them dig that up to where they then just find their own solution. And then together, of course, we make a little goal, a small realistic goal, of course, to reach their ultimate health goal or just life goal in general.
Yeah, it's hard for us as nurses who are conditioned and we have been taught that we know the things and that we should give that information to the person we're talking to. And now having to step aside from that we may know the things. And now we have to hold back on some of the things sometimes because it may not be appropriate, like you said, or it may be appropriate. And so, us trying to find that fine line and knowing ourselves, knowing our clients, digging deep, and then, asking, do they even want that resource? Maybe they don't even want it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Asking is big. And I think it might just stem from our science training, since schooling. It's like, especially nursing training, we have these algorithms where it's like the patient has these symptoms, they need this treatment for it, whether it's a medication or some sort of other modality. So that's just our instinct to offer that fix. So it's such a different approach from bedside nursing, and it takes work for sure.
Yeah. And so, what's one benefit that you've seen in yourself or with your clients since you've discovered this?
With myself, being a lot more intentional and reflective. It's been a stressful couple years, not just with having babies around, as enjoyable as that is at times, but also we had a big move and then moved into a house and we're just doing a lot of work. So, stressful season. And for me, just to take that time to reflect and also tap into mindfulness in general, which is what I learned also through the program. It's just been a really good reset for me. And also just learning how to set small goals for myself, so rather than saying, okay, I've been stressed out, I need to exercise more to find that relief. And one thing I always tell my wife every year is like, I want to get stronger this year. Like I do plenty of like running and cycling, but I want to actually get strong, mainly to prevent injury, like protect my back. But she's like, you say that every year. And so I'm like, okay, but I'm actually doing it this year. And now I feel like I'm better equipped with the tools of setting a smart goal, starting small, measurable, make it time sensitive. Like, okay, next week, I'm going to take 2 mornings and do a 20-minute workout, like before work. So that's been really beneficial as well, like setting those little goals and just reflecting on how things have been.
I love that. So, reflection, mindfulness, smart, small, achievable, realistic goals.
Exactly.
And then your wife calling you out on that one.
Yeah, she sure does. It's great. Yeah, she holds me accountable and she checks in with me as well, which is really good. She's helped me a lot this past year with not only my schooling but now the business. Like she helped me with the website and creating the logo, and I actually made it this goal to have a booth at our neighborhood street fair. And that was kind of like I'm definitely a procrastinator. So I needed that in order to finish everything. Like, okay, before the street fair, I need to have my website, business cards, like logo, a banner dialed in. Otherwise, not going to be, legitimate. So we finished everything thanks to her. And the street fair was an experience. I had my elevator speech in my head, sort of, and I definitely had to tweak it throughout the day. I was there from 9 to 6 and talked to so many people about nurse coaching, explaining what it was and specifically what I do, and learning how it hit people and adjusting how I explained it and kind of shortening it in a way. It was a good experience.
Wow, how cool. How many people you think you talked to?
Oh geez, probably close to 50.
Nice.
Because I had like about 30 people actually put their info on my list, little sign up sheet,
Yeah.
and I definitely talked to more than contacts that I got.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, I thought if I can get one or two clients out of this, that would be awesome.
Hmm.
But more so just get the word out. That was my goal in the first place, was to try to reach my community
Hmm.
and try to help people before they got to the hospital, of course, but then also just really thrive in general. People may not be sick or need medical attention, but they may also be able to function a lot better. And I would just really love to help people with that.
Well, that is really amazing. It is fascinating. And you and I were talking about this before we clicked record, but the way in which we have to try to describe what it is that we do, you know, and make it make sense for the person listening to it. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like, what's in it for me as I listen to your description, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, do
exactly.
you remember what really hit home for a few people? Do you remember what you said that you can share?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I had my logo on a banner, and then I had a question. Or no, I actually wasn't a question. I had a humanist approach to your health. So people would ask, what is that? Like, so I said, I'm a nurse coach and I work at St. Vincent's. I'm an experienced nurse doing health and wellness coaching as a board certified nurse coach.
Mm.
Because initially it was like, oh, I'm a nurse coach. And they assumed, oh, you coach nurses. So that's where the title was a little misleading, and why I settled on and actually really like the title of lifestyle transformation nurse, because I still wanted to keep the nurse title in the name because I'm still nursing. And I feel like there's also a credibility piece to that and a trust aspect as well. So I kept nurse. And then the goal, of course, is transforming your lifestyle in some way. So I went with lifestyle transformation nurse. And people would ask about that too. So
Hmm.
I explained it as basically, I want to know your story. I want to get to know your lifestyle and the specifics of what that is. So, what are you eating on a daily basis? What are your activity levels, your stress levels? What do you do for a living? How's your work life movement? So, after I explained how I want to learn about every aspect of your health and see where is that opportunity for growth. And then, of course, when we dial in on that, making goals together, and ultimately you being the driver for the change and me being a partner with you on that journey.
And then people were saying,
And people were saying, oh, that sounds great. We really need that.
ah,
Yeah, they were saying, oh, this is what healthcare needs. they were super appreciative of it and supportive of it, but they also seemed like they may not necessarily think it was something they needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some people saying, "Oh, this is what my son needs," or like, "Oh, my aunt is really struggling with this. I need to hook you up with her." And so my
Let's
answer
push it
to
on
that,
everybody else.
yeah, and I was like, well, even if you're not specifically struggling with something, it's really nice to have this sort of comprehensive diagnostic check where, like, I have you fill out this health assessment tool to serve as a starting point, and stuff comes up. And even though you feel like you're doing okay with your health, it's largely preventative care that we need. So it might be worth a try.
And now, a word from our sponsor. Are you feeling frazzled and wishing for something different to reconnect to yourself? Are you worrying about the past and feeling anxious about the future? If so, the mindfulness-based stillness meditation for nurses course is for you. This beautiful and supportive program is open to all nurses, and you'll experience the benefits of developing a mindfulness practice for yourself. You'll learn to be fully present with yourself and your family and patients, which will enhance your ability to manage stress and improve decision-making, well-being, and self-efficacy. Learning mindfulness and regularly practicing will help you manage stress more effectively and improve your resiliency, making you feel more connected to your heart. Our mindfulness-based stillness meditation for nurses course guides you to meet difficult situations with a kinder acceptance and to be more aware of your flow of thoughts and feelings. You're being called in this direction for a reason. Visit inursecoach.com/mindfulness for more information or schedule a free call to discover more about the mindfulness-based stillness meditation for nurses course at inursecoach.com/admissions. We'll see you there. Now, back to the podcast.
And even though you feel like you're doing okay with your health, it's largely preventative care that we need. So it might be worth a try.
Yeah.
And I explained how a lot of times people start with super small goals, such as like just wanting to drink more water or something like that, and it just blossoms into this huge lifestyle change in a totally different direction as we begin.
I love this. I love how you just said, you know what, I'm going to go to my local, first of all, serving your local community. So kudos to that, saying, yes, I'm just going to serve here where I am, right in this place. And then showing up, never having done a street fair or had a booth anywhere. Just like, okay, this is what I think I need. I'm not sure, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to see what happens. And I'm going to talk to people. And I really appreciated that whole scenario. You know, maybe people don't know what nurse coaches do. Well, we know that. We're working towards that. And yet it still brought curiosity. So people were like, well, what is that? Tell me more about that. And that gives us an opportunity to share. Oh, this is how it would benefit you. And this is what some of my other clients do, or, whatever the story is that we want to share. But it's an opportunity that has opened, that you created, to open up the conversation and to start having conversations where you live, work, and play. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good experience for sure. A lot of people would. Another topic definitely was, oh, does my insurance cover this?
Mm-hmm.
And I mainly said, for the most part, probably not, but it's getting there. And I found an avenue where people could probably use like a health savings account or flex spending account to cover like health coaching. So that was what I shared with people to try to get reimbursement in that way if the cost was a barrier, which I really struggle with that as well. thinking about what, I guess, clientele or what group of folks I want to be serving, I don't want it to just be the people that can afford it, no problem. So finding those ways to reach everybody, it's a struggle, but that's that's been something I've been working with somebody on who I actually met from the street fair. She really wants to start. She has goals to eat better, lose weight. She just got diagnosed pre-diabetic, and I just feel like it's so meant to be for me to start with her like right now, but it just didn't fit her monthly budget. And so we're looking into her getting reimbursement from her health savings account.
Yeah, that's great. And also meeting people where they are. I know fellow nurse coaches who, do have some potentially pro bono clients that they fit into their schedule. And then they have the paying clients kind of, you're almost like giving a little bit from here, taking a little bit from there to support, and some nurse coaches use sliding scales for people. If that fits into their own way of doing business, right? We all have to, I always say we all have to buy some toilet paper. So we need to get paid to do what we're doing, right?
Right.
So there's that. And then, we can use our health savings account in some mechanism in some ways. And I actually had that with my own business that, you can use health savings accounts. So
That's great. Yeah, I'll definitely be following up with her and mentioning that to folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough balance of like,
Mm.
setting your price point, and sliding scale is helpful with that for sure. But that being said, what would the minimum be? And especially just getting started, I have been offering like first session free and meet and greet. I feel like I do just need to get myself out there. But then there's that side where it's like, okay, I also need to be compensated as well. And I listened to this actually in a Inca podcast about setting your price for what you feel your worth is. And also, I think the analogy was if people are paying a certain amount, then I forgot how it was explained, but it was like, in a way, when they're paying more for it, they expect more. And there's that accountability piece where, okay, I'm paying for this, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to work hard at it. But yeah, the pricing, it's tough.
Yeah, I call it the skin in the game, right? When you're paying for something, you definitely are showing up for your sessions. You're definitely, you know, doing the work behind the scenes, helping yourself because you paid some money. It's kind of like when if you're going to be paying a mortgage payment, you have some risks associated if you don't pay, right? And when you
Right.
pay, you have a house to live in. So it's kind of the same principle, I feel. Now, I definitely have some pro bono clients, and the only times that I have felt really, really great with the pro bono clients and feeling my worth and their worth, all of that kind of coupled into one to feel like it's a synergistic kind of feeling is when that person is energetically putting in as much as I'm putting in.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they are not able to pay, but they are so participatory. They are so engaged. They are with you every step of the way. And so they're paying with that energy. Now, I'm not saying that everybody, you can do that, right? We also need to be compensated for the amount of education we have, the amount of skill we have, the amount of experience we have. But there are those times when you really want to work with someone and you feel that connection and you see somebody who's like, oh, they really cannot afford that. They really cannot.
Yeah.
And yet they need it so much. So I selectively have clients like that who I feel are that. And at the same time, if that person, we make an agreement and if that person is not really holding up their end of the bargain. Of course, we're having that discussion like, what's going on? Let's talk about this. Of course, we're having this coaching conversation. It's not just cut and dry, right? Sometimes things are happening. But if they're not willing to put in as much energy as I am, then it starts to build that resentment. I'm giving all I got, and you're not giving what you can give, or what is going on. I've learned from that, like, oh well, that wasn't a good decision sometimes
Mm-hmm.
too. And I think this is part of our journey of learning what we're willing to do and what we're not willing to do, and going with our hearts on some things, going with our guts on other things, going with our minds on other things, and
Yeah.
just exploring what we think. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
it is definitely exploration. Okay, so this is your first year as a new entrepreneur. Tell us a few challenges that you've overcome.
Yeah, I never really thought I would be here, honestly. So just following that organic growth that happened ever since I heard about nurse coaching and started the program. When I was getting my clients for the practicum, my coaching sessions in, I told myself the whole time that I didn't really want to be doing this in the hospital setting. I wanted to focus on reaching the community, specifically not working with nurses. Like I wanted to work with different people because I'm around nurses all day when I work. Despite all of that, I told my manager about nurse coaching, told her I needed some group sessions to do, and she invited me to a staff meeting, to get my required group coaching in.
Wow.
And ever since, so I did 2 staff meetings for my practicum, and ever since I've been coaching in our hospital, different departments, staff meetings, and our CNO has been so supportive along with my manager, and they've been telling other managers about what I've been doing and how the staff are affected by it. And initially it was like, okay, this would be a cool opportunity to help people with their individual health, set some goals. But what we found was it was this amazing opportunity for team bonding because we're so busy on the floor and rarely take breaks at the same time. So we don't get that chance to learn about each other. So when we created this vulnerable space in this coaching session, we heard about each other's struggles and what we wanted out of life, and then making these goals and people kind of recommending different things and then checking in on each other. They were holding each other accountable outside of the meeting. It was just like this unexpected benefit where it's kind of what healthcare and just working in a hospital is missing. So it's been pretty amazing. And I've actually really been loving it. And now it's not just free, like I actually get to charge for it. So that part is
Ooh,
cool too.
that's very cool. And the ripple effect that you're having, you're getting known as, oh, we tried this one thing. Your nurse, first of all, your nurse manager saw the benefit of it and took a chance and said, okay, let's do it. Let's try it. Let's see what's going on. Let's see how we can help our fellow employees, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
fellow humans. Other people started talking about it, and now people are asking for you. And it's funny how you said, oh well, I didn't really want to work with this group, but here I am doing it anyways, right?
Yeah, people ask me specifically, they're like, oh, so you're going to coach in the hospital? And like, actually, I don't really want to do that. I want to just get out there and meet other people. But it just happened so naturally and it felt meant to be because my manager was actually working on her final project for her master's, and her topic was new grad resiliency. And she was creating this clinical academy for our new grads. And, it was largely skill based and everything to make sure they're competent. but she was missing this other side that she didn't know quite what she wanted to do. But when I came to her, it was like, this is what we need. So ever since, I've been doing the clinical academy every few months or so when we get a new cohort of new grads and new hires in general. And it just creates this humanist personal side to training, not just like learning how to use our equipment or our policies and protocols. And then they just feel a part of this community from the get-go.
Mm.
So it kind of sets the tone for our department culture and now other department cultures.
Yeah. So good. Yeah, so good. It's interesting because I'm part of something very similar here in my city in Tucson, Arizona, and I go to a hospital organization, and I'm part of their new grad program too,
Wow,
as a nurse
it's
coach.
amazing.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we could sit up here or sit in front of a classroom and blah blah, the talking head kind of thing. Yes, you must do it like this, and here's how you work this machine, and here's how you can assess and do all that stuff. And then we're always missing the humanistic side of things, which is what you said. The humanist, like, we're all humans here, and we have other needs that also need to be acknowledged, like how scary it is to go out on a unit, and how you are faced with death and dying, or you're faced with nurses who've been working there for years and seem to know everything, and you feel like you know nothing, and how that can impact you. And yeah, gathering together to talk about those fears and those learnings or those successes too are just very, very uplifting, even if it's difficult things to talk about, right? They really just support the nurses all around.
Yeah, definitely. Depending on the group, it can be pretty surface level. So I've been starting to share examples of when people dig deep and try to get to the point where they're uncomfortable sharing something. But I explain like this is where growth really happens when we are vulnerable and share something we're really struggling with, because not only do we benefit by sharing it, but other people in the room will benefit from it by knowing that they're not alone. And then they hear about different strategies that may work for them. And it's a collective way of healing.
Mm. Yeah, so good. I think of we spoke a little bit about barriers earlier, but we're kind of conditioned as a society to not share the difficult things, or to stay on the surface. Maybe we don't want to show emotion. Maybe we don't want to share that, because someone would think we're vulnerable, or that we don't know something. And yet it is such a human shared experience. We've all felt like that. Yeah, and creating these safe spaces like we're doing is really important to show that we are showing up for each other. And it is difficult to share something that is on your heart like that. And at the same time, it does help someone else, because they're listening to you and they're supporting you with their energy and as they listen. And it is healing all around. Mm.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it has been great for the new grads and new hires, especially because, we're moving away from it, but there's definitely been that nurses eat their young mentality. And it's like, especially just starting out, like we have to be strong. We can't be afraid of anything. And we kind of have to pretend like we know it all in a way, like, but it's a great start for them to feel like they're able to ask questions and they're able to show weakness. So it's just been pretty profound.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. That's a huge success in a new entrepreneur's world, right?
Yeah, I'd love to learn more about what you guys are doing as well
Oh
in
yeah,
your neck of the woods.
yeah, definitely. We can take it offline, or yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I love about these podcasts is we get to share a little snippet of something that we're doing in our communities, and hopefully it sparks our listeners out there. These are opportunities for us to really make a positive effect in the communities in which we're serving. Yeah. So, how can we find you if we're looking for you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So my website right now is the best way. It's Lifestyle Transformation RN.
LifestyleTransformationRN.com.
Right. Yep. And my email is fine as well.
Okay.
transformationrn@gmail.com.
Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely share these links in the show notes and how to for people to contact you, John. I know you're
Yeah, it's
working on
still
some
a new
social
question
media.
for me.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I haven't
right.
shared my website
Woo!
with many people, so thanks for
Well,
asking.
you just shared it with all our listeners, so there you go.
Yeah, it was I guess a little tricky to get a domain. That was half the battle. But my title, Lifestyle Transformation Nurse, and then I just went with Lifestyle Transformation RN to be a little shorter, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, and
Yeah,
even
and
learning
then
that too. Okay.
yeah, I'll have a LinkedIn as well, but I have not been in social media world. I have to probably start that. So
Ah,
stay tuned on that. But I've
well,
never
and I have to
been,
ask, do you? Do you have to start social media?
I don't know,
Hmm.
maybe not. I'm trying to not start social media, but I guess we'll just see what people want and if I do need to go that route, but hopefully not.
Hmm, there you
I
go.
feel like I'm trying to hustle in the community, just
Hmm.
sort of word of mouth. We'll see if that's enough.
Yeah. I truly believe that it can be. You're staying in your community, the people who know you, your word will get out. Some people don't want to be on social media. I've had conversations with plenty of nurses and just other people in general that are not on social media. And then some that want to get on social media, but just have never had the chance or never or are nervous about it or just don't know. There's so many avenues in which we can get out there and reach people. So
Mhm.
I always say just do what's on your heart.
Yeah.
Yes. And speaking of what's on your heart, we love to ask the question, John, what is on your heart that we would like to share with our listeners today?
It's a great question. I guess if I'm trying to be motivating or influential to people listening, I would say just continue to ask yourself not only if you're happy, but if you have meaning, if what you're doing is meaningful to you. That's kind of one of the things that healthcare in general during this shift that we're having, I feel like is lacking. The staff just don't feel valued. So I would say to the listeners, try to just follow your heart and do what makes you feel valued, whether it is getting into nurse coaching and finding your niche or something else. Just do what makes you feel alive. I'm trying to get there myself. So,
Yes. Do what makes you come alive.
yeah, once I heard live where your heart beats, I feel like more specifically, do what makes your heart beat,
Mm, I love that. The
and
imagery of
everything
that.
else will fall into place.
Yes. Yes. Give us some of that for sure. Thank you. Thank you for sharing what's on your heart.
Of course.
Okay, now we have some fun questions well, they're all fun questions, when you're really talking about stuff we really love. So it's fun to talk about this. But some questions maybe you don't have to think so hard on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's one. California or Oregon?
Oh, geez. I spent the last couple of years trying to convert to being an Oregonian. I feel like there's such a backlash here towards Californians. So, gosh, I love being here. Like Oregon is amazing. It's been super fun exploring the different parts, and the people are so down to earth. And California is just so vast, like I grew up in Northern California, Central Valley, Bay Area, and then lived in kind of the border of Southern California, like Santa Barbara, for a few years. And they're so different. It's like the people are different. It's so hard to choose. Like I value both. But for now, I'm going to go with Oregon just because that's where I'm at. That's where I've been enjoying lately. Yeah, I'll say Oregon.
Oregon for the win. Well, there is another thing called California and Oregon.
I know. I'm really bad at that. I can't pick favorites. Like that's another thing my wife calls me out on is like when she asks me, "What's your favorite?" or like, "What do you like most?" or if she's asking me, "Do you like this outfit or this one?" I'm like, "Well, this one is good in this way, and then this one it's like functional," and I can never pick one. So you really asked a great question there.
Yeah. With your wife, it's just like you look beautiful in all of them. So there you go.
Definitely. And that's always the truth.
It is the truth. Totally the truth. Okay, here's one that has numerous answers. So you get to pick whatever word that you resonate with the most. So Integrative Nurse Coaches in Action. Action is an acronym. Some of the key things for elements of nurse coaching: authentic, curious, truthful, inspiring, open, nurturing. Authentic, curious, truthful, inspiring, open, nurturing.
They're all so good. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot more choices than California and Oregon. But honestly,
we might be here a while.
No, I have to go with curious because I've been so curious lately just on different things, but also I feel like especially with my clients, when they are more curious, that's where changes happen, and that will lead to being open. So open as well. You have to be open to explore the curiosity. But yeah, that's a good one.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah, we can do ands. Authentic and curious and truthful and inspiring and open and nurturing.
Yeah. I never realized action was a acronym until I listened to Aaron's podcast, but that was good.
Yeah. I enjoyed kind of figuring that all out, and it's had input from many nurse coaches around the world, just kind of which ones stand out for you the most. So it's good.
No, you picked good ones to go along with them.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you so much for being on the Integrative Nurse Coaches in Action podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And thanks everybody for listening. I hope it was not only interesting, but inspiring. And yeah, I wish you all the best.